With Elon Musk's bid to buy Twitter still pending, Biden administration officials are reportedly discussing whether the U.S. should launch federal reviews of Elon's business ventures. This as a former advisor to former President Trump claimed in a recent interview with Politico that Musk is being used by Russian President Vladimir Putin effectively as a mouthpiece. Joining us now to dive into this a bit more, Jamil Jaffer, founder and executive director of the National Security Institute. Jamil, great to see you as always. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.
So, Jamil, Bloomberg and other outlets reporting just a few days ago that officials within the Biden administration potentially going to be looking at opening up reviews of both Elon Musk's Twitter deal and also SpaceX's satellite network. That's been used to supply parts of Ukraine with internet most recently. What would be the impetus for looking into both of these business ventures?
Well, obviously, as we've seen, there are significant national security impacts that SpaceX and Twitter can have. With respect to SpaceX, we've seen the supplying of internet access there in Ukraine to the individuals that are on the ground and the Ukrainian forces that are fighting there. In addition, in Iran, we're seeing an increased effort by the administration to work with Elon Musk and his team to get satellite internet there to the protesters in Iran. So at least with SpaceX, we know there's that national security nexus. And then, of course, we've seen the misinformation, disinformation efforts both by foreign governments and the like on Twitter that might have some national security impact as well.
And former Trump advisor and Russia expert Fiona Hill telling Politico that she believes Elon Musk, who has inserted himself into the Russia-Ukraine conflict in the past, promoting peace settlements, is, quote, transmitting a message for Putin. What do you make of this?
Well, it's unclear whether Fiona's suggesting that he's actually transmitting a message for Putin on Putin's behalf, or whether he's simply transmitting a version of what Putin's message is, which is that a settlement ought to look like something with eastern Ukraine and Crimea. At the end of the day, that's obviously not a good settlement for Ukraine, particularly as they are on the verge of capturing back more territory. The situation on the ground remains fluid, and it seems unlikely that Ukraine will want to settle at this point, given that they're still making gains in the eastern parts of Ukraine, where Russia's holding ground.
And Fiona, adding that Putin really knows how to play men with large egos so that they think that they are helping potentially when in fact they're just being manipulated in a mouthpiece. Do you agree with this assessment? Where is it coming from?
Look, I think there's no doubt that Vladimir Putin, being a former KGB officer, knows how to manipulate people and knows how to manipulate situations. We've seen him do it over and over again. We saw him do it with President Trump on the question of Russian disinformation during the conflict. We saw President Trump stand by Vladimir Putin's side and say he trusted his word over the intelligence community. That was clearly a situation where President Trump had been, bamboozled, to be frank, by Vladimir Putin, and that's unfortunate.
What kind of evidence would the U.S. need to launch federal reviews of Musk's business dealings? And do you personally believe that he does pose a national security risk?
Well, it's a great question. It's unclear what kind of review is taking place and, why they would take the view that Elon Musk's transactions can be reviewed. So we'll see how this all plays out. I don't think at this point it's possible to say that he presents a national security risk per se, but we'll see how this all plays out and what evidence they bring to bear on those questions.
All right, Jamil Jaffer, as always, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.